And this is sponsored by and brought to you by Black Belt Treasures, which Kristen Law, hey Kristen, she is going to tell us more about. Here we go.
Welcome. My name is Kristen Law. I'm the Art Programs Director here at Black Belt Treasures Cultural Arts Center. We're located physically in Camden, Alabama, in Wilcox County, about 2.5 hours north of Mobile. But we serve a region of 19 counties, from Pickens County down to Washington and over to Bullock and Macon. We work with currently about 400 artists from the Black Belt region who are juried into our gallery. Stephen is one of our artists who's been with us for quite a long time. He has a style like no other, and we absolutely adore him and his artwork. He's highly collected scenes from around the rural South. Most are historical in nature or stories that he had heard over time, and we'll let him tell you more about that. And of course, he's taught some great oil painting classes here at our art center. We have an arts education center in the back with pottery studio, classroom, and we've been working recently on virtual programs to add to our in-school offerings so we can take artists like Stephen into the schools without physically having to go into the schools. Hopefully we'll actually be able to return to the schools really soon. But we welcome everybody to visit us, join us on Facebook or Instagram, and our website is blackbelttreasures.com. And just love to have you all join us and come see us in the gallery or visit us online.
Well, thank you so much, Kristen. I appreciate that. And you have an amazing facility, and it's growing too. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We just added on about a year ago our Arts Education Center in the back, and it was the first of 3 phases. So we are currently about to start working on a fundraiser to increase the artist incubator space in the back, and also a large event area and a changing gallery. So besides our gallery where items are for sale, we'll also be doing exhibitions, but that's a little bit down the line in the future. And we try to do a lot of outreach with our artists, and also reach out with education and programming into the different counties. So we're also always looking for new artists. So if you know an artist from the Black Belt who lives in the Black Belt, be sure to tell them to give us a call, and we'll hopefully jury them into our gallery. And
okay, that is wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Now for our artist of the week, Mr. Stephen James. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for speaking with us today and sharing your wonderful, wonderful knowledge. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm in Monroe County. I've lived here all my life, and raised in a country setting, and lived in the country and gardened and fished and things like that. And I have always loved art ever since I was about 4 years old, as far back as I can remember, drawing. And all through school, we would love to draw. All of our whole class seems like it's very art oriented, and so I ended up with oil painting, and I use oil paints, and I mostly recreate memories and dreams and my imagination, and I go back in time to where it wasn't so complicated, and it's usually a lot of water around, or wildlife, or people working in the garden, or doing something constructive. And so that's usually what I do. And I don't know how many paintings I've done, but I've lost count. But I thank y'all for letting me be on and talk to y'all. And I'm real honored with Black Belt Treasures. And I went to University of South Alabama, so I'm really honored that y'all called me. And so thank you.
No problem. Can you give me an idea or explain to us how you got to this point? You say you've always drawn your whole life, but has it always been your key profession, or did you work someplace else and do it on the side and then retire and decide this is what I'm going to do? What exactly is that story?
Well, it's sort of like that. Ever since I was can remember, my first memory was when I was around, I had to be 4. I was on, my daddy showed me how to draw a profile of a cowboy with the hat and the nose and the face. And so I remember that. And so I know I go way back to 4 years old. And all through school, we would doodle and draw and color crayons. And we probably did a drawing every day at school, in elementary school and throughout. And then even taking notes in high school and college, I would doodle on the sides. And so I said, well, shoot, I can. I looked at art. I looked at oil paintings and paintings and art and an encyclopedia. I was lucky enough, my parents bought a set of encyclopedias and they had a painting section, and I just looked at all of them, all the masters, and so just tried just on my own, and I ended up, with the oil paintings. And you can just keep adding on to oil paintings, and you can just keep building up layers and textures. And if you don't like it, you can just go over it and just with it to a certain extent. And so that's why I ended up with oil paintings. And so
very, very, very cool.
Now, Stephen, you spent a little bit of time as a nurse, though, didn't you? Or in the medical field?
Now that is my career. I knew that I probably couldn't make it as an artist, but I had a dream to do it. And so throughout, I decided on a career that I could work at, and it was a very rewarding career. And I worked in different aspects of nursing, and so I've got a real rounded experience with that. And so I was able to, on the side as a hobby, keep going. And I probably sold my first painting in 74, I guess, or 73. And I was at the Fairhope Art Show one time. And I've been at different art shows and Eufaula and a long time ago. And they were just primitive paintings, just amateurish, and but they told some kind of scene or a story. And so I've had luck. I've sold every painting just about that I wanted to, and so people seem to like them, and I seem to enjoy doing them. So I just keep doing them.
Very, very cool. Now, what is the medium you use all the time?
I use oil. I use liquid as a medium, and I use the just a good pigment oil paint. Grumbacher or just the Hobby Lobby, and I think we order a lot of them from Michael's and Hobby Lobby, and they're just a good grade oil painting. There's different grades, and I try to get the best grade. And I use a little retouch varnish, but I can paint in anything. I can paint in acrylic. I can paint with turpentine and linseed oil. But it just seems like I like the thick liquid, and I keep my palette wet, when I'm not working, so it won't dry out. And I use aluminum pans to put my oil in. And a lot of times I mix up on the canvas instead of mixing up colors in my palette. I'll put a blue on there, and then I'll put a yellow on there, or I'll put a white on there and put a blue for the sky. And I just kind of mix the color on the canvas sometimes. And I think that gives me a more brilliant. So when you mix paint, as soon as you mix it, and it's the most brilliant. And the more you keep dabbing at it and mixing it, it dulls. I've noticed. So, or that's what I think anyway. So I'll mix a lot of it on the canvas. And I'll put it on thick to begin with, and then thin as I finish it. And I'll use retouch varnish, and I can tell when the painting gets finished. It just looks finished.
Yeah.
Fabulous. So have you ever experimented with other mediums besides an oil base or turpentine? Have you tried acrylics, or have you tried watercolor? Have you tried those other ones?
I like acrylic, and acrylic is real shiny and it dries real fast. And I haven't had as much luck with it as I do with oil. And I tried watercolor, but a lot of my works are built on top of, and I'll think of something I want to add, and I really can't do that with watercolor. And I want to add a character or add something in the background. And once you put that watercolor on there, your painting is just, you got to know what you're doing and do it in one step, kind of, I've noticed. And So I just use oil because I can correct things and add on and stuff like that.
Okay. Very interesting. Um, Now, you said that that you just learned from your father who drew stick figures. Is there anybody else who really influenced your love of art? Is there somebody who guided you or gave you some basic steps that you've taken and just ran away with?
Yeah, that's right. When I was a child, I remember people in the past who did that, and I remember one guy ran a service station. Well, two guys ran a service station. One of them was Gordon Lloyd in Monroeville. His name was Gordon Lloyd, and he had a service station, and he painted, I think it was oil paint on glass.
Oh,
And
wow.
so when we would stop and get gas or get work done on the car, I would look at his collection of oil paintings he would do of grist mills and scenery, and it would be on glass, and it was just translucent and just beautiful. And another guy that really influenced me was William Harris in Wilcox County. And it just turns out he's a friend of mine's uncle. But I would stop at his service station, and he would have a picture of a wild turkey or a picture of his wife. He did a portrait of his wife, and and I would just look at his. He would do it. He had a progress. He would be working on a painting, and I'd stop by and see how it was going, and later on he'd have it finished, and so he's an accomplished artist and a character there in Wilcox County. So I was lucky to know him, and there was another friend, Nikki Floyd. Nikki Floyd, she did oil paintings, and she encouraged me as a young adult to do it, and so she was a big influence. So I was lucky to have good influence. And my wife, she's artistic, and my wife's really allowed me. She let me give me time to do it, and I work better, when everything's quiet, and so she gives me space to do that, and so I'm fortunate to have her to do that too. I'd like
That's
to thank
amazing.
her. Thank you.
And
Yeah,
I got friends too.
I have to add,
What I was going to
you
say
mentioned Harris, and Mr. William was actually one of my influences as well. He was my neighbor growing up, and I love to think that one of those times when Stephen was there talking to him, I went up there as a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, and would watch him paint and listen to all the stories, and there'd always be people standing around with him. And I can't help but imagine that Stephen and I may have run across our paths in Possum Bend when I was little and he was learning from
Right,
Mr. William.
Mhm.
Very possibly.
Yeah, sure.
He really was quite a character, and I can definitely see his influence in your work. And Stephen and I did some research not too long ago on the Orleans St. John steamboat that Mr. William spent some time diving and recovering pieces from the Orleans St. John. And so we did some research on that, and he did one of the most beautiful steamboat paintings I've ever seen of the Orleans St. John, sort of in memory of Mr. William. So it all just
That's
comes
right.
back around.
Mhm. Definitely. Definitely. All right. What inspires you? Is there a particular thing that really inspires your pieces, or things that really touch you deeply?
Well, a lot of mine are family oriented, and they show a family, doing something, and maybe some kind of like a woman with a churn, or making a quilt, or a farmer plowing his cotton, or people picking the cotton and putting it in the wagon, and it's mostly a constructive thing where people are working and or either fishing.
Mm-hmm.
I like to show people fishing too. That's relaxing, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's moments you might think of that if you see a painting of it and it just say, yeah, that's a relaxing, relaxing subject, kind of.
Is there an artist that you particular follow, or a particular one that really you relate to, or you just really like and have enjoyed their
Oh,
pieces?
there's so many of them. And I've been through the National Museum of Washington, D.C., and I can't even name them all, but Frederick Remington, Andrew Wyeth, all the Wyeth paintings, and I can't think of them, Van Gogh, uh, uh, and so I just really can't think of all of them now, but, Gauguin and just, you name it, Rousseau, you just name it. I just love them, and I like impressionistic paint. I wish I could paint impressionistic,
Mhm.
and but people say sometimes that mine's kind of like folk impression folk,
Mhm.
So I just try to put it down where someone would like it, and I don't know if y'all remember or not, but maybe not because this may be past y'all's time. But I remember we had these Viewmasters, and we would put little slides down in the little like binoculars, and you would look
Oh, I
at
have
them, and
one.
it would be 3-dimensional. Okay. Well, we used to look at a lot of those, and I think sometimes mine are so in focus that I'm looking through a Viewmaster sort of.
Yeah, I think I have one.
That
Wait
is,
1 second. Kristen, would you ask me a question?
yeah. Well, I think it's really interesting that you mentioned Andrew Wyeth because we have people say that your painting style reminds them of the Wyeths. So, kind of hyper realistic, but yet
I didn't
dreamlike.
know that.
We hear that quite often.
Yeah,
I do. I do. If
I just
anybody's wondering about a Viewmaster, I actually have one.
all
That's
right.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, cool. I haven't
yeah,
seen
an
one in a long
artist here in Mobile. He actually put his pieces on a Viewmaster slide,
Great.
Oh,
and
I
you can
love
view
that.
his art in the Viewmaster.
Isn't that
That is
something? Well, that's
absolutely fascinating.
three-dimensional. That's really great.
Yep, Eight
Um,
Partridge is his name.
well, if I may say so, Jeff Sessions, I think, bought a painting from mine at Black Belt here a while back, and that painting that he bought, it reminded me you could look at it and it looked 3-dimensional, and it would almost
Mhm.
make me dizzy when I looked through it. When I looked,
Very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that was a special
Viewmasters
painting.
are coming back, I think.
well, good. That's good.
Let's see. Let's see. All right. How do you stay up to date on the latest trends? Like, is there a place you go or a magazine you read, or is there something that keeps you current in the types of things you like to look up or look at or paint or draw?
No, I probably should, but I don't. And I'm not into a lot of technology and surfing the web and things like that. And um, it's my paintings. I might wake up one morning and know what I'm going to paint, and I might have gone to bed and I didn't know, but then I know what my next painting is, and I just sit and think about it and do it. And so I'll start off with a gessoed canvas or a canvas panel, and I'll just saturate it with mineral spirits or retouch varnish and liquid medium, and then I'll just start with lots of paint. My wife cringes when I just start squeezing it out, but because it's so expensive. But it's I'll use a lot of paint to begin with and make it real thick and make kind of the profile of the painting where the sky's going to be or the dwelling's going to be or the people are going to be, because you really need to put it down to begin with where you want them to be so it'll look good and finished and like you know what you're doing. And so I try to make it vague but able to get more detailed as it goes, and then I'll work on it for a couple of hours, and then the next day I'll start again, and I'll work on it for 3 or 4 hours, and the next day I'll go again, and I'll spray the whole thing down, usually with retouch varnish every day when I go to start. And I like to use a lot of blue, aquamarine blue and yellow ochre, and I use titanium white, and I'll use alizarin crimson and phthalo green, and Payne's gray, and burnt umber, and
Okay.
that's most of my paintings. I'll put them on down in the palette like a pinwheel. I'll start with reds and the yellows, and just go around with the blues and orange, yellow, and green. And,
I'm going to try and bring up one of you. I have screen. Let me see if I can bring up. Whoop.
I like to do wildlife. I really respect wildlife, and I don't hunt much anymore, so I just mostly just feed the wildlife. But I just got back now, and just saw a bunch of turkeys, and we just live in a kind of a wilderness area with a lot of wildlife and a fish pond and fish, and a bunch of dogs and stuff. So we just live out in the country on a dirt road.
Well, I think back to your painting
Flowers
of
are
the
starting
turkey
to bloom.
and how the details. That's something about your work that just stands out so much is the detail work. The turkeys, you could see every feather and every leaf on the ground and every piece of bark on the tree. And it's almost like a hyper realistic painting. It's just incredibly beautiful and so full of life. So your painting style is gorgeous, but I'm curious about the size of your brush when you get down to the detail work, because it's almost like you paint it with a cat's whisker. It's so fine of a detail.
Well, I use big brushes to begin with, but then when I start doing the detail, I'll use a #2 script liner, and I'll wear them out too. I'll order them 5 at a time, and once they get kind of frayed on the end, they don't do what I want, so I'll just get me another one.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a fine line with a #2 script liner.
Yeah. Oh, wait one second. I'm almost got the turkey up. So let's see.
I'll work a month on a painting. So
there we go.
Well, now that's
right.
a William Harris. Mr. Harris, he did one like that.
No, that's yours.
Mm-hmm.
That is yours.
He influenced me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I did that one to answer his turkey. He has a turkey that I watched him paint it off and on, and so that's my answer back to him.
Okay.
I can see
very cool.
That's definitely your style. Yeah, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know what he would say about it.
I would too.
I think he'd say he'd love it.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Let me see. Let me see if I get another one up. And then we have this one. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. And what's this one of?
That's that's one of my recent ones I did of the Female Institute. I asked someone in Camden what would be their pick of the most historic structure there, and they said, well, the Female Institute goes back, and all, and I'm not sure how far it goes back, but I kind of did my dream of it, and I had to put some females in it, and so I got Female Institute. I got them scattered around in there.
That's cool. Now, what was the Female Institute?
It was a college, I think, a school, and I think it ended up the high school. It maybe even had classes there and all. So it may have started off in the 1800s, maybe even. It's real old.
It was.
It's like a college.
Mid 1800s, and it was one of the best female schools in the Southeast. In this area, people from South Carolina to Mississippi sent their daughters to school there, and it later became a local high school. And a lot of people around here will tell you they went to classes there. And now it was saved by our local historical society in the 1970s, and had been the first floor restored, and now they are about to start working on the second floor to do restoration in there, and it's just an absolute treasure in our county.
Very, very cool. That's fascinating.
Well, I try to put
Now,
the stages of the, we got the young girls on the quilt, and then we got the older girls. One's flying a kite and picking flowers. Then we have one studying, and then we have one picking the forbidden fruit in the back.
Oh, I would have never seen that.
And then they have one of them's got a fire way back there in the back, and I don't know if she's a witch or not, but she's might just be cleaning the yard.
Oh. So do you hide things like that in your paintings?
Yeah, I try to. I try to make them interesting to people, and they may find a different thing. Sometimes they come back and look at it, they might find something different they didn't see before.
Okay.
Yeah. We're always finding something new in his paintings, for sure.
Very cool. I can see the Impressionist influence in his pieces.
Well, thank you. I really like that type of painting, the Impressionist. I really, that's one of my favorite ones.
Very, very nice.
Now,
Van Gogh. I was going to say Van Gogh. It is.
Oh, do I need to bring it back up? I was the other one. Let me bring it back up. Okay, what was it?
That's the Female Institute in Camden.
Kristen?
I
Oh.
was just going to add that in this one, if you can see the skies, he has a really unique way of painting his skies, and in all of the paintings, they're almost dreamlike. There's this certain blue, and the way he does his clouds. And my mom and I will be driving down the road, and it'll be a beautiful day, and she'll look up and she'll go, "Oh, look, it's a Stephen James sky day," and so that's how we determine a beautiful sky, if it looks like his paintings. So.
Oh wow.
The sky is a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't tell. You do a
Very cool. Okay, let's see. We got the turkey, and where was the other one? And this one. Okay, and where was this located?
Oh, this is one of my favorite ones. I did this one the other day, and this is a church. It's not there now, and it was on the square in Monroe. And I think now there's an office building there or something. But that was the nicest church. I'm not sure if it was a Presbyterian church or a Baptist church. I've heard people calling it different, Church of Christ, but it was a church, and it had all those steps, and all us kids would get on the steps and sing Christmas carols. And so, and up at the top there was a little, I guess, a little porch up there, up under there, and you could get up under there, and so I just I asked someone, and they said they had a picture of it. So I looked at the picture, and it refreshed my memory. And so I just put a Sunday morning or a wedding or something, with people there, and kind of the way they had big stained glass windows. They were just immaculate. And so I don't know what happened to them. They tore that down back in the 70s, and I don't know why, but I guess it was getting old and all. But that's a church in Monroeville, and it's not there anymore.
Yeah, they tend to do that in the 70s.
A lot of my paintings aren't there anymore. Some of them are, and some of them aren't.
That's fascinating. Very, very cool.
And a lot of those buildings and houses are just disappearing now.
Well, I'm glad you're capturing them. It makes a huge difference. And these are things that need to be rescued.
I started off painting old abandoned houses that were run down, and but then I realized they just look so lonesome. That's when I started going into putting people in them and building them back new and that kind of thing. That's something that I came up with. Because you'll see them on the side of the road, and they'll be on up, and the roof falling in, the barns in the back deck will be blown over or something. But I'll just put them back like I think they were.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
With the people.
Yes. That's just
It would be
amazing.
really interesting to see those side by side. It would be really interesting to see the dilapidated building next to your painting of it alive, and do photographs next to the paintings.
That would be.
Nope. When I started off, that's what I would do. I would just find an old abandoned house, and I would try to paint it, and I just realized it would look better new. So I just made it look new and put people on the porch and in the yard and things like that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Very cool. Okay, so what has been your career highlight so far? What's been your most amazing moment, powerful moment, things that really impacted you so far?
With my art,
Mm-hmm.
well, I guess being honored by Black Belt Treasures has really made a difference in my career. I mean, a big difference, because I was just stuck here just painting, and somebody was in Black Belt, and Donna Wesley told me, said, "Well, you need to put those paintings in Black Belt." And she's one of the master potters years ago, and so I came up there and met everybody, and it's been a great ever since. It's just been a great time.
That's cool.
And I want to thank them again for it. And I've met some good people and some good other artists there, and, and authors, and so it's just a great group of people there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I'm putting in your in the chat. I'm putting in your how to contact you, your website. And then I have the Black Belt Treasures as well.
I appreciate it.
So there's your website.
I was going to say, Stephen has been included in several publications as well. The Visions of the Black Belt book, which was written, the verbiage was written by Valerie Pope Burns, and Robin McDonald did all of the photographs, but they included an entire section of Black Belt artists. And Stephen has a beautiful full color layout in the book. And then more recently, we did about a year-long project with the University of Alabama photography department and Canon photography. And that is this book. And there's an exhibition, which I believe, Paula, we're hoping will come to University of South Alabama in the future. And it includes a beautiful several pages of Stephen at his home and his paintings. If y'all
wow.
see that. But the students then were able to photograph and interview and videotape all of the artists, which are being put into an archive for future research and preservation of these artists. And they did about 30 artists this time, and we're going to continue the project capturing the lives and the photographs and stories of more Black Belt artists. But if I can add one more thing in here, I love Stephen's opening quote. And he says, "Art is not something I can explain. I am just compelled to do it." And I think that's really something that speaks so much to the heart of an artist and to the Stephen that we all know and love. It's just a great, perfect quote.
Definitely. Okay. Before we're done, I do have one final question. I ask this of everyone. We are at the University of South Alabama, and so we're influencing and guiding students every day. So what is the number one thing? Let me switch it to Stephen. Stephen, what is the number one thing that you would like to tell students at the University of South Alabama?
Love your family. Your family is your biggest asset, and they love you, and work with your family and respect your family, and try to help them every way you can, and that I guess that's and a lot of my paintings have to do with family and working, and so I guess that's my big thing.
Very awesome. Very, very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you and love it that you spoke with us, and we certainly want you back in the future. So thank you so much. All right.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Kristen. Bye.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Steve.